Movie theaters have been devastated. Will Disney come save them? I don't know. There's a lot going on, but I think they will. I think Disney's going to jump in there and buy at least one, if not more, of the movie theater chains. They need them. They need them to operate. Other studios need them too, but Disney owns a bigger percentage of the market than anyone else. Disney accounted for almost 40% of the 2019 U.S. box office. And even though it's not a great business to be in the movie theater business, they still need the distribution. They've tried doing Disney Plus and offering Mulan direct to consumers. That did make some money, but apparently was only about $130 million. That movie could have done $500 million or potentially $1 billion if they'd been able to distribute it through movie theaters. So it's very likely Disney will step in and do something. All right, let's get into this interesting article. This actually just came out right before I was going to do this video. Oh, and to support my work, definitely subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications so I can keep making these videos and sending them out to you. Studios, this is from Hollywood Reporter. Studios must be willing to take a hit to keep cinema chains from falling apart. Yeah. Again, it's not like they're great businesses. They weren't great businesses operating movie theaters even prior to the pandemic, but now there is no business. So movie theaters are starting to close locations indefinitely, like all over the place. The number one movie chain is AMC Entertainment. And they've got this article here in Hollywood Reporter. AMC Entertainment to run out of liquidity in 6 months, rating agency warns. Run out of liquidity means run out of cash. They ain't going to have no cash. So S&P Global cited the exhibition's giant cash burn rate for another ratings downgrade as the pandemic's impact on theaters and consumer behavior continues. So when they say cash burn rate, they just mean literally like the money that they keep running out of as they keep paying out expenses and don't have revenue coming in. And a ratings downgrade means just that they're less likely to be able to pay back their debt that they had prior to any of this stuff going on. Debt ratings agency S&P Global Ratings has reduced AMC Entertainment's holdings credit ratings on liquidity concern as the impact of the mega exhibitors theaters take a toll on its available cash on hand, which you would think it would. Given our expectations for a high rate of cash burn, we believe the company will run out of liquidity within the next 6 months unless it is able to raise additional capital, which we view as unlikely, or attendance levels materially improve. On September 24th, AMC said it would look to raise more fresh cash, in part for debt refinancings and repayments amid the global pandemic, via an equity distribution agreement for the potential issue of 15 million shares agreed with Wall Street banks. So, what this means is they would sell more stock to raise the cash to finance their debt and basically push their debts off again. It's like running up credit cards. But if they actually are able to sell stock to pay off that debt, then they're just new investors. They're not actually they're not likely to get, basically they're not likely to get any money back. I mean, if they can raise, I don't know how they're going to be able to raise money unless it's Disney or some other major media companies or Amazon that jumps in and says, hey, we don't care. Here's $1 billion. That move came as the exhibition giant looks to continue reopening its U.S. theater circuit and survive the pandemic after debt restructuring. The debt ratings agency downgraded AMC's credit rating from CCC minus to CCC plus on weak liquidity, which basically means it's not considered to be junk debt. It just means it's not good. It's just not good. They're not likely to be able to pay the money that they owe. In July, AMC completed a debt restructuring agreement with its bondholders that included a $200 million in fresh capital and the Silver Lake Group purchasing $100 million in new senior notes. More recently, the cinema chain said it raised $77 million by selling 9 theaters in Europe's Baltic region. I mean, they're struggling to survive. They're doing the best they can, but what could they possibly do? They have two problems. One, theater goers are not anxious to go back into movie theaters and potentially catch a disease. And secondly, they don't have movies coming out. So there's a lot less movies coming out. James Bond was just delayed. AMC is the number one theater chain. The number two theater chain is Cineworld, and they're confirming temporary suspension of theaters in the U.S. and U.K. from Thursday. So they're shutting down theaters. Cineworld has confirmed that it's closing 536 theaters in the U.S. and 127 Cineworld and Picture House exhibitor theaters in the U.K. from Thursday. So starting Thursday, as coronavirus continues to ravage the exhibition market. In an update on Monday, Cineworld Group says 45,000 employees will be affected by the closure, which it says follows the reluctance on the part of the studios to release their pipeline of new films at a time when many theaters are unable to welcome customers. See, there's the catch-22. Until theaters are able to take in customers, studios are saying, hey, wait a minute. We've got $200 million invested in this movie, $200 million invested in this movie, $50 million invested in this movie, $250 million invested in that movie. Major releases like James Bond's No Time to Die have been delayed for more than once, and it's been delayed again. Other features moved online, like Disney's Mulan and Tom Hanks' Greyhound. So studios are looking at it and saying, listen, we're happy to distribute these freaking movies, but you got to show us that you can actually do some business in those movie theaters, and they can't do that. So as far as the studios are concerned, they're looking at it and saying, like, well, we're not going to lose our investment in these freaking movies, so we'll hold on to releasing them. And the theaters are like, okay, yeah, you hold on to releasing them. The thing is, we're going to shut down all these freaking movies theaters because they can't operate if they don't have customers, and certainly they can't operate if they don't have movies. Cineworld, which first signaled the suspension of its operations over the weekend, said its New York operations have been hit particularly hard, with theaters remaining closed and there being little light at the end of the tunnel. Cineworld did not indicate when it plans to reopen. It's really, really tough on some of the lockdowns and some of the geography. So if you're in New York, if you're in California, particularly, these places are the movie theaters aren't going to be opening. They aren't going to be able to take in whatever audience that they would typically expect to take in. So studios are holding back on movies. It's getting to be a mess. The company said it would continue to monitor the situation and is awaiting more concrete guidance on reopenings. It added, or the company said, it added that it is assessing several sources of additional liquidity, and all liquidity options are being considered as it wrangles with $8.2 billion in debt. That's a lot of debt. So that is too much debt. And that's what happens with some of these companies. They get the investors so they can get a big return on investment. Will buy a company, they'll load it up with tons of debt, and that's very cool, except when they have an interruption in business operations, then all of a sudden, like, new money isn't coming in to pay off the old debt, and they got problems. Cineworld CEO Mookie Greendlinger, said this is not a decision we made lightly, and everything we did in our power to support safe and sustainable reopenings in all of our markets, including meeting and often exceeding local health and safety guidelines in our theaters, are working constructively with regulators and industry bodies to restore public confidence in our industry. Yeah, but there's zero public confidence in the industry. As his colleague Anthony D'Alessandro reported, Cineworld is the first big circuit casualty since cinemas have reopened during the pandemic. It remains to be seen how long the closure is, and according to studio sources, it's bad for overall movie-going consumer confidence, as it sends mixed signals on theater opening. Mixed signals. The mixed signals they ain't no mixed signals. It's closed. It's in bad shape. And it's dangerous to go to a movie theater, apparently, and that's the signal that it sends. In the U.S., Regal is the second largest theater chain with 536 theaters. They closed in mid-March due to the pandemic and reopened where they could just prior to Warner Brothers' release of Tenet, which apparently Tenet has done $307 million worldwide. Is that good? It's not what they were hoping to do, but it's not nothing. It's a something. But the problem is it's not enough for them to recoup their investment on the movie. It just isn't from the studio's point of view. And from the theater's point of view, they can't just operate and just keep showing Tenet. They need other movies to show. They're not getting them. The studios are holding off. I think Disney will step in. To step in to do what? I don't know. I mean, they could buy them. You know, if you look at the size of these companies, these are the top four companies. Wanda Cinemas is a Chinese company that owns AMC Entertainment for the most part. There's some of it that's also a public stock. And Cineworld is a UK company. So that's global theater chains, like big theater chains. So the stock price of Cineworld, it's a UK company, is okay, this is in pounds and all that, but basically the whole value of the company is 541 million pounds, 100 million pounds. So £500 million pounds, which is about $700 million US. And as we mentioned before, they do have a big debt. They're going to have to, I don't know what they're going to do. They sometimes what they do with these companies is they bankrupt the company and then get rid of all the debt that way. But then all the stockholders, obviously the people that were owed the money, don't get paid back. And what also happens is the people who own the stock on the company, if there's a bankruptcy, usually get little to nothing. So if they can't pay back the debt, I mean, they look like that's some kind of collapse, some kind of controlled bankruptcy is probably what's going to happen with, I mean, 8.2 billion. That's too much debt. It's unsustainable, completely unsustainable, even in the best of times. Now, if you look at AMC, AMC has also a value of only 508 million. I mean, it's more than I got, 508 million, to be honest with you, but it's not that much. You know, it's not that big a company. So between the value, these companies are almost valueless at this point, but they're very important to the film industry. So does Universal come in? Does AT&T, I'm sure, would love with Warner Media to just buy everything, but because they just spend money like it's nothing. But they're not likely to do it. They don't have management to control it, and they don't own as much of the market as Disney does. And that's Disney's thing. Like, they need theaters. But will it be a year or two? Now, if you look at what happened with Disney in the last quarter, they lost like almost $5 billion because of their theme parks. But their stock went up. So what could Disney do? Well, they could come in with some cash because they're tight with cash. But they have cash and they have an ability to borrow. But they could make an all stock purchase and just use like a fraction of a percentage of their stock, literally less than 1%, and buy one, if not both, of these theater chains. And it was interesting because up until recently, movie studios could not buy movie theaters because of an old settlement with the Justice Department going back with it was called the Paramount Consent Decrees. So, but this is as of August. It was decided by a judge that because some movie companies are not even theater companies, and like so, it wouldn't have limited Amazon or Netflix from buying movie studios because they're not technically movie studios. They could have bought theaters, because they're not technically movie studios, even though they do produce movies. And because distribution has changed so much for movies, the government, the U.S. government, is okay with movie studios going ahead and buying out movie theater chains now. So I think it's very likely to happen. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. And you can also check out collegeofthedead.com. This is my zombie apocalypse series. It's an ongoing series. It's where college costs you an arm and a leg. It's the best way to tell you. Also, check out the trailer on the site. You'll see. Also, you can sign up at epicmermaids.com so you can get on the email list for The Mermaids. The Mermaids is coming out soon. It'll be launching October 2020. I'm really excited about it. It's like Game of Thrones with mermaids. It's a full-color graphic novel series. All right, I'll see you again soon with another video, and if I don't see you, I will miss you.